Welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable Podcast, where we sit down with some of the most successful real estate agents, brokers, and team leaders to learn about their journeys in this industry. I'm your host, Art Bettuzzi, and as a seasoned real estate agent of 29 years, I'm always fascinated by the stories of how others found success in this business. On this podcast, we'll be talking to our guests about the obstacles they overcame, the lessons they learned, and the tips and strategies they're using in today's ever-changing market. Whether you're a real estate agent, broker, team leader, investor, or just someone interested in real estate, you're in the right place. Our guests come from a variety of backgrounds, and they all have unique insights to share. We want to have fun with these interviews, but we also want to make sure that you come away with actionable tips that you can implement in your own business. New episodes will be released weekly, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for joining us on the Real Estate Roundtable Podcast. Let's get started. All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Roundtable Podcast. I'm your host, Art Bettuzzi, and I'm joined today by the first mother-daughter team that I've ever had on the podcast. I'm going to introduce today to a woman that I actually went to college with. And I got to tell you, she looks fantastic because I'm freaking old, right? And also her daughter. Together, they have formed a real estate team that I got to tell you is kicking ass right now. So let me introduce you to Sue Adduci and her daughter, Madison Blackwood. They are with the Adduci Blackwood group with Baird and Warner. All right, ladies, welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable Podcast. How are you doing?
Thanks so much for having us, Art.
Thank you. We're good. How are you?
Rocking and rolling. Thank you for asking. Absolutely. So, Sue, let's just travel back in time just a little bit in terms of when we were in college and the fact that we knew each other because you were in a great sorority and I was in a fraternity, and we had met multiple times during the time that we were at college. And then just like everybody else, you sort of leave college and you drift away from people to a great degree. But it's funny because I came across you on Facebook. It's got to be about 10 years ago. And you were in real estate. And so I was like, cool. I always like to keep my real estate connections out there. And so I've just sort of been following you. And every once in a while, I'll comment on something you've got going on. And I've seen that you have built yourself quite a career over the years. So why don't you tell us how you started in real estate? How'd that happen?
Well, ironically, I really had no plans to ever do this, but my husband and I started buying houses, flipping them, and selling them every 3 years. And we had a realtor that we used every time. And probably 4 or 5 houses into this, I realized, why am I doing this? Why people would call me and say, do you know of any houses in the area? And I'd say, I do. Let me give you my realtor's phone number, give him a call, he'll help you. And then I thought, this is ridiculous. So I went and got my license thinking I was just going to put it in referral network. And I started working it. And my first year, I was rookie of the year for the company that I worked at that point, sold $3 million in my first year. So wow. I decided maybe this is a career I need to get into. And so that's when I started.
So what year was this, Sue?
That was in November of 2005.
Wow. All right. So you weathered the storm. If you're still in real estate today, we weathered it, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I learned how to do just about everything at that point.
Right. So 2008, 9, 10, when the market dropped, because in 2005, let's face it, a lot of us were order takers, weren't we?
Yep.
There wasn't a lot of great sales going on. I mean, people were looking for houses and, we went out there and we did our thing. But when 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12 showed up, you had to learn to sell. to be able to survive, right?
Had to learn how to do foreclosures and short sales and everything in between. Without a doubt, those were the years where you either could make it or you couldn't in real estate.
Absolutely. And so obviously you did. And obviously you've thrived as well, right?
I tend to think we have, yes. Thank you.
Well, all right. So now fast forward a little bit. When did you and Madison decide, or when did Madison decide to jump into real estate and jump into the team?
So I got my license in 2018. I had grown up watching her and all the phone calls and everything she did. And I told her I wanted to get my real estate license. And she told me not to. She said, chase your dreams, do what you want to do in life. I had gone to college. I have my master's degree from Northwestern. I got a full-time job sitting at a desk, and I just couldn't do it. It's not in my DNA to sit every day, all day. So I ended up getting my real estate license, and I hung my license actually the week before I got married. So I had taken my test 2 weeks before I got married, on my birthday, actually, passed my test, hung my license that week, and then got married the week later. And I just feel like it was the best move I ever could have made.
I agree.
We were not a team right away. We were actually individual agents. She wanted me to learn the market, everything from the day in, day out, managing my own time schedule, finding my own clients, working my own sphere, building that business and understanding everything, until she felt like we were at a level playing field where it was fair to become a team, because I didn't want to piggyback on my mom, which is what most people probably think I did, is that I just jumped on the train and, rode her coattails to the finish line. But it was not that way at all. I had to do everything myself until she thought that I was ready. So that was about a year and a half after I got my license. We became the official team.
Excellent. And how's it going?
I think it's great.
I do too. I will tell you, maybe we're not the norm, but we have a very close relationship. I was very close to my mother, and I think she grew up seeing that. So we are very close. I would say she's probably my best friend.
Oh, you're mine.
Oh,
Sean's up there too, though.
yeah. But really, I mean, we have that bond, which really, I think, helps our business. Do we argue about things? Absolutely. I mean, it wouldn't be normal if we didn't, but I'd say we work like a well-oiled machine.
Absolutely. I would actually say that our family thinks that we can't turn off the business. Like, that's something that we work on, is making sure we can separate the business and the personal. So we're not sitting at a dinner table with our families, talking about this deal that we have going on and this client. It happens occasionally.
Sometimes it
does, but we try to really separate that to make sure that we have those different
boundaries.
Yeah, those boundaries.
But it's hard, isn't it?
It's really hard.
It's really hard. Especially when you're busy, because I forgot to tell you, this appraisal was done, and that guy wants to see that house tomorrow. And if we don't tell each other when we're thinking about it, sometimes it slips through the cracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear that, by the way, from the husband-wife teams, by the mother-son teams. When you're in a family situation, or you're in not a work situation, that it's hard to turn it off to because you're like, or you're looking at your phone and something comes in and you're like, oh my, did you hear this? Did you see this? That kind of thing.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And that's what happens all the time.
All the time.
And so let's talk about, Sue, where was your business level before Madison joined your business? If you remember production or anything before Madison joined the business?
I would say my business was probably around 8 to 10 million a year. Maybe some years were a little bit better than that, but I think at one point my best year was probably 12 million before she started.
Okay.
And last year we were at 24. So
doubled it, babies.
Yeah.
Way to go. Congratulations. That's a heck of a year.
Thank you. It was definitely our best year yet. 2020 was our best year, and then 2021 kicked that one to the side. And I mean, we're on track this year to at least reach what we did last year. We like to
Excellent.
compete with ourselves.
Right.
We try not to compete with the world around us. It's so easy to see what other people are doing on social media and compare yourselves directly to those people. And we've realized that it's not worth the mental toll it takes to compare yourself to others. So we compete with ourselves. We keep a track of last year and where we were month to date, volume, units, etc. And we keep track to see where we are.
I'm a
this year as
little
well.
old fashioned. I keep in my planner, I keep track of every deal
Wow.
and the earnings and the volume to date and the earnings to date. So that I can look back at last year's at, June 30th and compare it to see where we are. And then I know whether we're on track or if we need to kick it a little bit to get where we want to get.
Well, so that's interesting to me. So let me ask you, what methods other than, like you're just showing me there, are you using to track your success? I mean, do you use, other than in writing, do you use tools? Do you use programs? What do you guys use to be able to keep yourselves on track to hit the goals that you put out there?
I would say we're not using anything directly to track the goals, but we are using different tools to make sure that we are reaching our goals, right? We want to make sure that we're hitting our past clients. We're really working our spheres. So I would chalk it up. So when 2020 hit, let's rewind. When 2020 hit, everybody was hiding inside of their houses. Everybody was scared to death of what was happening in the world. And once we were kind of into the clear, we decided, we as really outspoken, personable people, we needed to talk to other people. We were sick of, hiding and having closings remote and Zoom calling people. So we started doing drop buys or pop buys. And we took this little candle and it said, the market is hot. And it had our information on the back, and we hand delivered them to past clients. Even if it had been 5 years and we hadn't spoken to them, we decided right then and there we were going to hit all of our past clients. And we delivered these candles. We knocked on their door. We wanted to see people face to face, and we had conversations with a decent amount of people that turned into, I think, 6 deals,
6 listings.
6 listings just from those candles alone. So it worked. I think everybody was in that same situation. Everybody wanted to talk to other people and, start being social again. We wore masks. We were safe.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we've done that's made a big difference. And I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to stay in touch with those clients, not just the ones from last year, but I'm talking from people 8 years ago. We were hitting everybody. Hi, I don't know if you remember me. I'm Sue Adduci. Oh yeah, we remember you. Just wanted to drop by, just that you have to do it.
So
Yeah.
we do 4 drop bys a year now, sometimes 5, depending on how adventurous I'm feeling, how creative I feel. So definitely the 4. We send, home anniversary postcards on their 1-year anniversary, just as like a, hey, congrats, you've lived here a year. We love referrals. If somebody sends us a referral, we send them a gift card to usually Starbucks, Dunkin', some kind of coffee shop that says, our business runs on coffee and referrals. We want to make sure that people know that we appreciate the business that they send us. We don't take any of our clients for granted. We know that there's so many real estate agents out there. There's actually over 6 million in the United States alone. And we were just ranked in the top 1.5% for that. So we are eternally grateful to the people that pick up the phone and choose us.
Without them, none of us would have business.
Well, that's for sure. That's absolutely for sure. So it's great that you made a decision and you actually put it into action, and then you got some results, even though I would guess that wasn't your primary motivator.
Right. It wasn't. We just wanted to get out. We wanted to talk to people. We wanted to stay in contact and make sure people still knew what we were doing, that it's COVID. We survived. We're here. We're still selling real estate. And if you need anything in the world, we're here to help you.
Right. It was more just on the personal one-on-one after all of the
Stuff.
yes.
All the stuff we went through.
Yes.
Yeah. All the stuff.
The quarantine that about killed all of us.
That's right. Absolutely. So, all right. So now you get past COVID, and you said each of the last 3 years has been better than the last. So how did that happen?
I really think it's consistency, right? From the very beginning, they tell you when you're taking all of your classes, when you're going to trainings in the office, they're telling you be consistent. Pick something, and you can't just mail one postcard and think you're going to get all this business. You can't just do one drop by and think you're going to get all this business. It's staying in contact because it's repetition. They need to see your name 7 times for it to be embedded into their brain to be like, oh yeah, Madison and Sue, they're a real estate team. We should give them a call. So I think it's just forging through and trucking ahead and making sure that we're continuing to do those drop bys and mailing the postcards and mailing the magnets just to keep our name fresh in their brain and relevant in their household. I mean,
yeah, and a lot of people, I don't think they want to take the time to do this. They just want to go out and get a listing or get a buyer. And we do that too, but we have to take that extra time to touch base with these people in order to keep the business going. And I don't think a lot of people either realize how important that is or want to take the time to do it.
Well, I think that's Sue, what you and Madison are doing, and I personally think it's the basis of this business, is you're building relationships with people.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. That's
Right?
the bottom line. Yep.
And I mean, we treat people how we would want to be treated. We, like I said, we don't take our clients for granted. We treat them as individuals. Each deal is unique in and of itself. And we really make sure that we treat them as if they were our family, because that's what we would want our family members to be treated like as well. So I think that just speaks volumes. And I would say probably 80% of our business is repeat referral business. I don't think that would happen if we were mean and rude and, horrible human beings. People wouldn't refer us.
Right.
100%. But I think the fact that you're being intentional about building those relationships. I mean, if your business is really 80% referrals,
it is.
That's fantastic. I mean, you have the dream business because, again, people coming in and referring you, those are all warm calls. Those are all when you reach out to people, it's great for you. And then you're only lead generating really for that other 20% of your business.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I think when you talk to people who are looking to get into real estate, which I talk to them every day, right? The number one question I get is, where do I get leads? How do I generate leads? Right? Go ahead, Sue.
When I first started, we all have those feelings when you first start. How am I going to get people to use me instead of all these other realtors?
Mhm.
I would hand my business card out to everybody. The cashier at the grocery store, the person looking at that dress next to me in Kohl's, anybody I could find, I handed my card out.
She actually still does that. We were at the store the other day and we just sparked up a conversation. We buy items for baskets. We make our clients baskets for their closings. And so we were buying some items and we sparked up a conversation with the woman behind us in line. And she said, oh, well, could I have your card? I don't know when I'm going to move, but I'd like to at least have it in case I needed it. And so she handed her business card over.
And if they don't ask for it, I always say, hey, listen, I know you're probably not in the market to sell right now, and that's fine, but maybe you know somebody who's going to be ready to sell or buy. If you wouldn't mind just taking my card, our business works on referrals, and they're always happy to take it. Now, some of them aren't going to transpire, but once in a while they do.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yes.
Right?
Michael Jordan.
Exactly. If you don't hand out your business card, you don't give it any opportunities.
Right.
I used to text people. I went through my phone book in my phone, people that I hadn't talked to in years. I met at a bar once, in college, whatever it may be. And I just sent a picture of my business card and I said, hey, I'm in the market. If I can help you with buying, selling, any of your real estate needs, or if you know of anybody, please reach out. That's how I got my first listing.
Really?
It's my very first listing.
That's the generation.
And
Right.
so the new people coming into the real estate world, I say, one, you can't be shy. You can't be scared.
Nope.
You will miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Got to accept rejection.
Yeah, you're probably going to miss most of the time.
It hurts, but it is what it is.
Send the text messages. Because most of the time people are going to say, hey, that's great to know. I haven't heard from you in forever. It's so great to hear from you. How have you been? What have you been up to? And you spark that conversation and you can rebuild that relationship. And eventually maybe they will be looking to buy or sell.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that I hear from people that are, new or about to get in the business, well, I don't want to be a pest. I don't want to be a pest.
See, there's a
What
fine
would you
line.
say is your reaction?
There's a
Okay,
fine
go
line,
ahead.
right? I
Yes.
feel like there's a fine line.
Yes.
I feel like you can read people. So if you send them a text message and they're very standoffish, you just leave them alone.
Back off.
Back off, leave them alone. But most of the time, like I said, people will say, oh, it's so great to hear from you. I haven't thought about moving, or maybe I want to move in 6 months or a year. And you take down that note, have an Excel spreadsheet with a note that says, reach out to so-and-so 6 months, reach out to so-and-so a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be. But you'll know, you won't be pesty if people are responding positively to your messages.
Yeah, there's a way to approach somebody in sales. If you're in sales, there's a fine line. You just can't cross it.
Right. But I think that also people have this fear that, real estate brokers are like this one step above car salesmen. Not that there's anything wrong with car salesmen. One of my best friends, car salesman, but in their minds, they're like, I don't want to be that guy or that woman that people are like, oh, she's just going to talk about real estate. Have you found that to be true among your sphere?
No.
And I feel like maybe it's because we're not always talking about real estate, right? Occasionally we'll just reach out to people that we've worked with in the past and just say like, hey, how are you? How are the kids? Congrats on that grandbaby, and leave it at that.
Right.
Not, hey, have you been thinking about selling? Because then you are getting a little pushy and pesty. But it's all about building that relationship.
It's all about that touch.
Right.
And
right.
really building those relationships.
100%. So let me ask you, how have you and your team used social media to be able to either get people aware of your brand or to generate leads for yourself?
So it hasn't been mentioned yet, but we actually have 2 other team members on our team that we work with on a regular basis. And we have been making TikToks as a team. Even this one has been in TikToks, right? Are you shocked?
A little.
So we have been making these videos that really, they show our personalities. They're informative. They're funny. They're not, cut and dry and boring real estate. Here's what's happening in the market and interest rates and all of that.
Right.
But they really just show that we're people too. And we've been posting those, and I think people are really enjoying them. And we kind of mix in those TikTok reels with posting. We post, fun facts about real estate, or are just listed or just closed, or what's coming soon, and market updates and interest rate updates and all of those other things on Instagram and Facebook. But I think the TikToks are really fun.
And we recently just had somebody say, hey, I look forward to seeing those TikToks. When's the next one coming out?
So I really think even if people we don't get a lot of likes, right? Like we're not getting 1 million views and likes of our stuff. It's really more authentic and local. And so we want those people that you run into in the grocery store to know who you are, or your friends' parents, or your friends' that are seeing these videos. So just a little punch for small businesses.
Right.
If you have a friend who's running a small business, like their stuff, share their stuff, comment on their stuff. It's free to do to get the word out.
Back a little bit to our team. There are 4 of us, and we are multi-generational. So we each have our own specific sphere that we reach. Allie, our youngest on our team, is 20. Madison is 30. She just turned 30. Still not quite to hit her. Monica's 42, I think. And I'm, 62. So
I know how old you are.
I know you do. So we all have our own group of people. So we're reaching everybody. And I think that helps.
And I think it's really great that we can say that we are an all-woman team as well. So not only are we multi-generational, we're hitting all 4 different generations, but we're also female-run, which I think is really empowering in today's day and age. Yes.
Yeah, I think it absolutely is, and the multi-generational thing. I'm guessing the 20-year-old is Allie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm guessing Allie helps out a lot with the social media stuff, right?
Well, the TikTok, yes.
Right.
Madison here is the social media guru. She is.
All right.
I don't even know where it came from, but she's got it down. Well, she's got her degree in marketing and public relations and advertising, and so she knows what she's doing, and I attribute that to a lot of our success.
Well, and here's the thing is, and Sue, I know again, you 2005, you know what it used to cost us to get to advertise something, to get people to know who you are, the bus benches and the sides of the walls and
the newspaper. Yeah.
Right. I mean, the cost associated with doing that stuff, at the time you're like, well, that's what everybody does, right? But the fact that today a majority of what you could do to market yourself is practically free,
right,
is just astounding to me.
Yeah. So everybody should be doing it, a ton of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I'll run into people, sort of between Allie and you, Madison, who will say, nah, you know what? I'm not, I don't really want to do that stuff. I don't. And I'm like, you are missing out.
I mean, I think maybe that's part of the reason why 80% of real estate agents forfeit their license in the first 5 years, is because they're scared. They're not willing to put in that work. They're, reserved and are worried to overstep with their friends and family and really work their spheres. Mm-hmm. I think if people don't like what let's rewind. We have a business page and a personal page, and I'm very cautious about how much I share from my business page to the personal page because I don't want to overwhelm my friends.
I'm the same way.
But I think it's important to occasionally post those and let people know what you're doing, because they're never going to call you as a real estate agent if they don't know that you're a real estate agent.
Right. Can't be a secret agent. Right.
Well, right. It doesn't work that way. And I invited my friends to like our business page, and then it's on them. The ball's in their court. If they want to like it and see what I'm doing, they're going to. And if they don't, it's cool. We're still going to be friends on Facebook and in real life and, whatever else. It's totally fine. So I just think you have to let go of the fear at the end of the day.
That's a great statement. It really is, because Sue, I think it must be your personal page, but recently your team was recognized by, who was it? The Tom Ferry organization? What was it?
Yeah, Real Trends, Tom Ferry. And that I felt I wanted to put on my personal page so that my friends can see, that we're a successful business, and if they need a realtor, they can call us. I don't, like I said, she said, I don't like to put everything on there, but occasionally I do like to put something like that.
Yeah, and that was the top 1.5% nationwide. And we were recognized as a small team in the United States, which I think was a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely, 100%. And Sue, here's the other thing I'll tell you, I noticed on your page is, didn't you win a couple of trips or something as a result of production with your company?
We win a trip so far every year that I've been there. The company awards us with a trip to Cancun in October, every October. It's a listing contest. You have to have so many listings. They have to be a certain price point, has to be a certain commission rate, has to be on the market for so many days. So there's criteria. Last year we won a trip for 4, and this year we won a trip for 3.
Fantastic. Well, again, so I noticed that because you'll be like, yeah, we're going to Cancun, and and me and Madison or whoever's going with you. Yeah. And again, it's not business necessarily. It's a lifestyle thing that you're going on this trip.
I feel like in today's day and age, with all the negativity in the world, it's important to share your wins. Like, I think people need some positive posts as well. And so I think that those are the really fun ones to share. I recently shared, I was picked as the top 20 under 40 for Main Street Organization of Realtors. And again, I thought that was a really big accomplishment. I'm honored to be in this year's 2023 class. And so that was a big win. I felt like that was important to also share and positivity.
And I think our friends and family, they want to know those accomplishments, not just always business, but your personal accomplishments. That's important.
100%. I agree with you 100%. And, again, it's not like you're stuffing it in somebody's face and saying, look at me, look at me.
Right. At the end of the day,
you're just sharing what's going on.
And at the end of the day, we can't do anything without our clients and our family and our friends and our spheres that are supporting us and referring us. So not only is it a win for us, it's because of them.
They helped us do it. Yeah, they helped us accomplish these things. And we like to
Absolutely.
make sure they understand that they were a big part of that.
So I want to step back for a second. When do you two and your team, the other folks, when do you sit down and set up your goals for your next year?
You want to take this one?
Well, we have not been a team of 4 for a year yet. The team of 3 we've had for about a year and a half, maybe. We have team meetings. We try to do it every month where we get together and we discuss what's going on, things that we need to change, things that we want to, just so we are all on the same page and we know what's going on. So we try to do that. And then I think throughout the entire year, we're constantly
doing a touch base,
right,
a check-in.
Right. So we're setting up those goals as we go every month. So we don't have like an end of the year, let's do our goals for next year, because everybody's always aware of where we are from month to month.
Well, we did actually in January, we sat down and we make vision boards.
True, we did do that.
Oh,
So
great.
Our
Every
vision
year.
board, I'm actually going to pull it up and show you. It's on my phone. I don't have it. It's in the office.
Yeah, every year we do that, and it makes a big difference. Just like how I keep my stuff in my book, it's just to visualize it and to set your goals independently or as a team, not competing against other people, but against ourselves to try and exceed our goals from last year.
Right.
Let's see. All right. So I'm coloring in most of these videos. So this is our vision board. This was one in particular that we made. I don't know if you could see that. So
No.
our goal for the year was
Yep.
to sell 66 units. So there's 66 little white houses on there. And every time we have a closing, I'm coloring them in. So I think we're at 28.9 right now.
29. We're at
We're
29.
at 29 right now. And so we will have 29 houses colored in and we'll keep going. And it's fun. It keeps you on track. It's visual, it's creative, it's right in front of your face. And so that's just another way where we can hold ourselves accountable and we can see, and our office can see what we're doing.
And that's the bottom line. I think you just said is holding
Accountability.
each other accountable. We hold each one of the agents on our team accountable. If we find somebody needs to step it up or do something differently, that's what our team meetings are for.
And it's not
It's-
us demanding
No.
or it's a conversation, right? Because
Right.
we, at the end of the day, want everybody on our team to succeed.
Absolutely.
That's
And we're
great.
not the kind of team where you have a transaction coordinator and a buyer's agent. All 4 of us are full-time real estate agents. We all have our own business. We have combined business. So if Madison and I are both out of town, one of the others can take over for our client all the way to closing if need be.
But at the end of the day, each one of us is running our own business from the very first meeting of that buyer or seller all the way to the closing table. It's not getting passed through
Right.
the chain of people. You build that relationship and have that from start to finish.
Got it. And has that when you're talking about the goals that you're laying out, and do you well, here, let me step back. Are you working individually from your individual homes? Do you have an office within your company? How's that working?
We each work from our own homes. We each have our own office at our homes, but we also have a desk and soon to be an office at the office. So office meetings or training classes, we try to all be there for that as well. But we do work independently. Madison and I are a team where, we split everything, where the other 2 are individual agents on our team, but they have their own business.
So you'll see both of us at a listing appointment. Sometimes both of us are at showings, things like that. But you get both of us, 2 for the price of 1.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Excellent. And when I love the idea of the vision boards, because it's one of those things that people don't understand. If you don't have your goal constantly in front of you, you
Right.
have a tendency to kind of lose sight of what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. And
Well-
it's all about the manifestation, right? You need to put it out into the universe to, hold yourself accountable and make it happen. So we actually had 2 vision boards, the one I showed you with the houses, and then we had more of a personal level one that we made as a team with some of our personal goals. So I wanted to read 4 books this year. I'm at 2. Sue wants to travel to Florida more. She has a house in
I
Florida.
wanted to buy a house.
She wanted to buy a house. She wanted to buy a house in Florida. She did it. She bought a house in Florida. So we have that personal vision board as well, because it's all about the work-life balance, I feel like.
Yep.
I have 3 little children myself. Monica has 3 children. She's got a boatload of children and grandkids combined. So it was important. A boatload.
I was like, a boatload. There's not one I've heard in a while.
3 kids, 5 grandkids, but it's important to have those personal goals in addition to your professional ones so that you make sure you're not burning yourself out.
Yeah, the vision board, we've always done a vision board, and we've always met or exceeded our goals because we see it in front of our face, and we're goal oriented, and we like to succeed. We're driven by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey there, Real Estate Roundtable podcast listeners. I want to take a moment to tell you about our sponsor, I Love Real Estate School. If you're looking to get your real estate license or fulfilling your continuing education requirements, I Love Real Estate School's got you covered. As an Illinois licensed school, they offer the state-required broker pre-license course, managing broker pre-license courses, post-licensing courses, and continuing education. And the best part, you can take the courses either through their live stream with a live instructor or online home study. So no matter where you are, you can get the education you need to take your real estate career to the next level. I Love Real Estate School is committed to helping you succeed in the industry. That's why they offer comprehensive, high-quality education at an affordable price. So if you're ready to start your real estate journey or stay up to date with your continuing education, head on over to iloverealestateschool.com today to learn more. As you've been working in the market as it stands today, because market shifted, hasn't it, a little bit the last year?
Well, yes, the market has shifted,
Yes.
but we have been blessed that we have been consistent.
Well, and I'm not even talking production. I'm just saying, as you look at the market in our
Yes.
area, the Chicagoland area, it's definitely shifted a bit.
Again, yeah, absolutely. And it's all about adjusting how you do things and what you do to continue to keep your business going.
And be consistent.
So what have you seen in terms of, so I'm asking your opinion here, in terms of what have you seen the market do and how have you adjusted?
Well, obviously we have an inventory shortage. We all know that.
Right.
There's still tons of buyers out there, and a lot of them are afraid because they think the interest rates are so high, which they're not, but they think they are. I mean, right?
It's sticker shock.
Right.
It was like 16% on your first house or something like that. 14%. But when you see 3% and now they're up to 7%, you're like, whoa.
Well, that was a fluke. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. So we've got to get used to the 6 and 7s.
But I feel like we've done a little bit of a hill, right? So it was a super high, multiple offers, way over asking price, appraisal gaps, all that stuff. And then interest rates they rose, right? And then you had some buyers step back and say, whoa, wait, sticker shock, I'm going to wait. And now we're seeing those buyers who need houses, right? You always have a need to move for whatever the reason may be, size of your house, you need a backyard, you have a baby, you're relocating, whatever it may be. And so those buyers are now coming out of the woodworks again. And we're once again seeing multiple offers, a little over asking price, not $50,000, not having appraisal gaps necessarily, but definitely the multiple offers are back.
They are. I would say a good 6 to 9 months, not even quite a year, was where it was starting to kind of level off a little bit, and now it's starting again.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And here's the thing is, I think that Madison, you made a great point in saying that people were like getting that sticker shock mentality. But, again, your mom and I are going, that's nothing. Because even, in 2005, and I started in 94. So the fact is that rates 6, 7, 8 were like, those were the rates. I mean, when you bought, it was 14, but I mean, and when we were in college, it was 22, Sue, which who knew what it was at that point? I was like,
Care
I don't know.
then.
No, right. We had no care. But when we look at historical numbers,
Right.
22%, and that was redonkulous for sure. But people, the last 10 years or prior to this last year, the last 10 years, the rates have been artificially low.
Yes, they have.
And as they've climbed, here and there, people are like, yeah. But now, like you said, Madison, people are like, wow, I could have got a 3. Well, you should have got a 3.
Well, and the other problem, because we have low inventory, is a lot of people don't want to sell their house because they're rate locked, because they have such a great interest rate. I'm not moving anyways. So if my husband sees this, we are not moving. Because you're rate locked. You're not going to move from your 3% mortgage to a 7% mortgage, double the interest that you're paying, more than double the interest you're paying, to have to afford a less expensive house to offset the interest you're paying.
And that's why we have low inventory. So one of the reasons.
Something will have to be done, whether it's they're going to lower the rates again, maybe that's going to happen to get people to start wanting to sell their houses to balance out the market again. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, and to answer your question about what are we doing, I think we have found in these crazy market times, we've never done more open houses than we do now. Because
really,
yes, the last 2 open houses we've done, we sold the houses and have had 2 other buyers without agents.
Really?
Yeah.
Man,
and
so many people say, don't bother doing open houses today.
That was the mentality that I think we used to have. It was more of a way in the past, more of a way to get more buyers for the agent. So they would do the open house,
not anymore,
not expecting to sell it. I think, now in the past, what we've been doing is, here's our little secret that we have realized works. Ready? We're going to let you in on a secret. Okay.
All right, we're listening.
So the private listing network is huge right now. It still is. People love to put their homes on the PLN, private listing network, PLN for short, and let the anticipation build. Let everybody know it's coming soon while you're having photos done, while you're cleaning out, decluttering, whatever it may be. If you can have photos done and activate your house on a Thursday, okay, and then do an open house that weekend and not allow any showings until that open house. So it sits on the market for 2 days. You do an open house on Saturday, let's say.
People are waiting.
People are waiting and waiting and waiting, and everybody will come to the open house that's interested, and then some. And you can have it sold that day. And it does your client a service, a good service, because they don't have to constantly be in and out of their house. If they've got kids and they've got pets, it's hard to get out for showings, and we understand and realize that. So if you can just say, please leave your house for 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday or Sunday, we'll still get you that offer. We'll still get you maybe multiple offers, and it doesn't put you out of your house as often.
And we don't like to put it on the PLN and allow showings anyway, because it's not really doing our seller a service by letting somebody come in and see it and make an offer, because they're probably going to get more than they're asking for it if we allow multiple showings.
And that's even happening on the PLN. People, if you allow showings, people know that they're getting in before it goes live, and they want their hands on it. They want their name on that contract. And so they're still offering more than asking price just to secure that home.
Now they weren't back then, but
now
they are more so now.
What day do you do your open house on?
It's either, sometimes it's a Saturday, sometimes it's a Sunday. It just depends on the weekend.
And if you're going to do a Sunday, it has to be a little bit later in the day, like a 1 to 3, right? Because a lot of people have plans on Sunday mornings.
Or football.
Depending on the season. Or depending on the season. So Saturdays are probably more successful than Sundays, but neither one has been proven more successful than the other.
Right.
What time on Saturday?
I still like the 12 to 2, 1 to 3 range.
Yep.
Okay.
Have a little bit of snacks. People want to get out of the house, especially if it's nice outside.
Yeah, they're
just checking. I like to see what people do. I like to see. Yeah. Like I said, I'm actually very surprised to hear you say that, because so many people are so against open houses and don't see the value in them, that I'm pleased, or I'm happy for you that not only have you been able to sell the house, which is great, but also pick up some additional buyers for yourself.
And I think that I would say that's one thing that I think most new agents aren't doing, is booking open houses. any agent, any experienced agent with a lot of business is probably going to be willing to give you a listing to do an open house. They would be greatly appreciated.
Take it.
Take it and run. Do an open house every weekend, because not only does it get you out of the house for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it gives you the experience talking to people about what's happening in the market. It could potentially get you your own buyers and potentially get you a buyer to write an offer on that house. There's no negative to doing an open house, whether it's your listing or another agent's.
Well, and again, I think that that's good advice in terms of find somebody in your office that has a listing and say, hey, I'd be happy to sit an open house for you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Get the experience.
As a new agent, I did every open house I could possibly do. That's how you get the experience.
Yeah,
Clients.
absolutely. And clients. Great. So open houses, the social media. What else are you doing in this market to keep your business rolling?
We mail postcards. We do that kind of marketing. What?
Tell them the funny story. We mail postcards when we just sold something.
Uh-huh.
And we got a phone call from this couple. They wanted to list their house. So we went and met with them, and we always ask, how did you get our name? We always like to know what's working. And they said, well, we actually were taking our garbage can out to the curb, and we saw your postcard on the sidewalk.
It had like blown out of somebody's mailbox.
So they called us based on that postcard.
You never know, right?
Yeah, you never know. You never know. We try to be involved in the community. Maybe that's another one. Again, going back to building those relationships. So Monica and I are on a board of directors for the Lincoln Way Foundation. It's the school district here. We raise money for the 3 high schools. And so I think that's important, is giving back to the community where you work.
Yeah.
We also sponsor a local baseball team. They actually just finished their season, but they were cute little 5-year-old boys. So we sponsored that team. It's just really, I think it's important to get back to where you serve.
I agree with you 100%. And have you seen, as you've done those kinds of things, have you seen the awareness of who you are or your group or your expand?
Yes. In a strange way, I would say. I think I'm not aware of it until people say to me, oh, I know your group. I've heard of you.
I don't see the direct correlation yet between people saying, oh yeah, I saw your name on the jerseys for that little boys baseball team. I don't think it's coming back yet, but I think it comes back to the consistency, right? It's having your name out there in the community where you're working, and eventually it will pay off if you're consistent and continue to do the same thing over and over again.
And I think it is somewhat, it's just not, obviously we want more of that, but I think there are some people who recognize the name.
For sure.
The branding. We have a branding.
I had somebody the other day send me a picture. They were sitting at an ice cream shop in town and took a picture of the back of the jersey and said, hey, look what I see. And I was like, hey, that's great. Like it's in the community. It's free marketing, essentially, these little boys wearing their jerseys, which I think is just great.
Yeah, that's what you want.
And they're appreciative that they have sponsors, because it helps that organization as well.
Now, do you farm a particular area? Do you have a region or area that you guys mostly concentrated?
We tried that, and I just feel like it doesn't really work.
So farming involves snail mail, sending those postcards over and over again. And I think it comes back to those personal relationships and building those relationships. And that can only stem from face-to-face interaction. So we do send just sold postcards or just listed postcards to the areas where we have our listings, because that just
but not the
makes
same
sense.
area over and over.
But it's not the same one over and over again. I really think it just comes back to the relationships that we build in person. So it's going to events, and it's going to the baseball game for the team that we sponsored, and meeting the parents and meeting people of the community. Name recognition. They'll meet us. Be like, oh, face to name. I get it. They were really nice. Let's call them. Or
I would say the only places we might farm are our own neighborhoods. Like you do your own neighborhood kind of, and I do, my neighborhood's small, so I can farm my neighborhood. And I have done, actually, I was walking down the street one day and a neighbor I didn't know, and he said, oh, I know you, you're the realtor. So he's getting the stuff.
Yes, I am, right?
Yes.
That's all you got to say.
Yes.
Absolutely.
yeah, the consistency and the repetition in our own neighborhoods, at least.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. In terms of, let's say, your biggest challenge as a broker or in your career, what would you say your biggest challenge has been, and how'd you deal with it?
I don't know. Honestly, I've thought about that. The biggest challenge for me, obviously, was those awful years. But because I was fairly new in the business, I didn't know how good it could be because I
Right.
didn't work in those years. So again, I threw myself out there and learned how to do everything that I needed to learn how to do to get through that. So that was probably my biggest challenge in this business.
Okay, Madison.
I don't necessarily have one, but if I had to come up with my biggest challenge, I would say when I got my license, it was extremely challenging coming up with my own sphere, because they sit you down and they tell you, okay, think about your friends, think about your friends' parents, think about your parents' friends, think about your neighbors, right? So they go through the whole sphere, and I obviously can't pick my parents' friends. I can't pick my parents' neighbors. I can't pick anybody that she knew. So coming up with my own sphere was very challenging. And I had to think outside of the box of who I could market to, because like I mentioned in the beginning, we weren't a team from the very beginning.
Right.
I had to do my own business and earn my keep before we could become a team. So that was probably my biggest challenge.
Got it. But obviously you persevered and
Yes.
have built this. Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
It worked.
So let's talk about for a second, Sue, the years that we don't like to talk about. And, there's this fear by, people out there based on the pandemic that, we're going to hit that again. People are like, oh my God, it's going to be like that again.
Oh, no.
What's your thought on that?
I think it's not. We're not having the lender issues that we had back then, which is what caused the problem. That was the bottom line. They were giving out loans to everybody, 100% over list. Awful lenders.
Weren't they also giving like second mortgages for repairs to be made?
Yes.
And then people weren't doing the repairs on their homes, and then they'd go to sell them and they couldn't sell it for what it was actually worth, what they got the loan for, because they never made the repairs.
They were getting above and beyond what they were paying for to get money back to do the repairs. Yes.
I think we learned our lesson.
Yes. So no, we don't have that problem now. It's not a lender issue. It's the economy. The economy is always changing. So I think that when the interest rates and everything levels off, I think we'll be fine. We're not going to hit that. We're not in a bubble.
No. I agree with you on that. But you got to admit, there's going to be some backlash from COVID in terms of the people who lost their jobs, didn't have the ability to pay their mortgages. And, with Illinois being a judicial foreclosure state, it takes us longer.
Yeah, but I would think we would start to see some of that already. And I don't see anybody losing their homes
A
or.
lot of banks, though, tacked that on to the end of their mortgage life. So when those people go to sell their homes, there's such great equity right now in homes that they're not going to be selling it for less and be underwater for taking that. Why can't I think of what it was called?
Short sale?
No. The forbearance.
Forbearance.
The forbearance.
Yeah.
Right. So they took that forbearance. They just pay that off at the end of their mortgage and take off a little less equity than they had.
And everybody's got equity in their home right now.
Everybody.
I mean,
Lots.
Market,
Right.
unless they bought it last year.
But even if they bought it last year, we're still seeing homes that are selling for more
True.
than what they paid for it a year ago,
True.
2 years ago.
Yeah, we've recently just sold 2 houses and they've only been in for a year and they both made money on it.
So again, I think some of those fears are unfounded. And I do think, being a journalism major, it's hard, or I have a journalism degree, it's hard to say, boy, the media is misleading some of these people about the market. But, I do think that people who just read the headlines
Right.
are afraid.
And it's a fellow journalism degree. I agree with you. It's the media who is, it infuriates me when I watch the news. I'm like, where are you getting this information? It's not true. It's just there. And then people are getting frightened by it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of that over the last probably 18 months as we came out of COVID. that they're, the sky is falling, interest rates are going up, and values are going to drop, and it's going to be like it was. And I don't see that either.
I don't either. I think it's a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah. And, there's going to be some effect for sure. It's just, it's not people. I mean, I've had people in class say to me, how do I know it's not going to be 2008 through 2012?
You don't.
Right. You don't. But as soon you said it well, although I do have to say, we can't just blame the lenders.
Right.
I have plenty of lender friends, but
that was a huge part of it.
Absolutely. It was a huge part of it. But I got to say, I do think everybody played a little part in that fiasco. It was the lenders, it was the appraisers, it was the developers, it was sellers, it was buyers. Everybody sort of had a piece of that problem. And when it blew up, it affected all of us.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But I agree with you, Sue. I don't see that again, because people were getting loans, starting in 2010-11, based on their actual financial ability to do that, so that we have better qualified loans.
Right.
So, the pandemic is the thing that was the thing that caused some of these issues.
Without a doubt. I mean, the pandemic caused a lot of issues within and outside of the home buying industry. Yes.
Although I do think it sort of helped some people to realize that their home was too small.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes, it did.
Absolutely.
Get out of that condo.
Or they wanted a yard for their dog and their kids to play.
Yeah.
And they realized they didn't want to be necessarily maybe in the heart of the city. They wanted to be in the suburbs with more land and a bigger house.
Remember back in 07, 08, everybody said, we don't need these big houses. We want smaller houses. So all those big houses sat, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and everybody's like, we want a big house. We need a big house.
Or people need homes with an office.
Yeah.
Because now they're remote and working from home indefinitely, even still. So we're seeing a lot of people saying, I need to move, I need to sell my house, but I need an office.
Right.
Well, and two, I think having so many people in the house working remotely, I mean, kids, having their own room and being on top of each other, everybody's like, I just need a bigger house.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then they had the time to go look for it.
Yeah.
Because, they weren't going to the office. And I, that really spurred, I think, what we saw starting in April of 2020. I mean, that run was fueled by a lot of these people.
People were done.
Yeah.
Just done.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, if you're walking down the street and a person says, I'm interested in getting into real estate. Other than, Sue talking to her daughter and saying, don't do it. The fact is, they're looking for your advice. So I'm going to ask you separately, Sue, what would be your advice to a new person getting into this industry?
Well, first of all, I want to make it clear. I didn't tell her no because I don't think it's a good industry or that she would be good at it. She just had a lot of education in a different area, and I wanted her to chase her dream. That's why I told her no.
Yes.
Other than that, I would say to the person, why? What is your reasoning behind wanting to get into real estate? Because so many people say, I love to look at homes. I watch HGTV all the time, and I love to look at homes, because they don't understand how much more there is involved in this business.
Showing houses.
Yeah. We all know it's way more than just showing a house. So that's why I would say you have to understand there's a lot of work involved behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. And if they think it's just about showing houses, it's not the right career.
So, but let's just expand on that for a second. Somebody says, well, my why is I want to provide for my family.
Okay, it takes time. It takes time. It could take a year or two to start making money in this industry, unless you've got a huge sphere of influence and you like hit the ground running. It's not an easy business. So
it's a simple business. It's just not easy.
No, exactly. And a lot of people, they have to keep their jobs while they're doing this, which is a catch-22, because this is a full-time job. It's hard to work a job and do real estate at the same time. So I would tell them, you
Really think about it.
yes, you really have to think. I mean, it's a difficult business to get started in. Once you're started and you get going on it, it's great. I would tell everybody in the world to do this, but you got to get to that point.
Right. All right. Madison, what would be your, you've just 5 years in, what would be your advice to somebody new coming in?
I really feel like that was my advice. You
Sorry.
took the words out of my mouth. I think it just circles back to, you have to not be fearful, and you have to be ready, willing, and able to put yourself out there and really promote yourself, because otherwise you're not going to do anything. So if you're sitting there thinking the business is going to fall into your lap,
Which they do.
it's not going to. You're not going to, your manager, your office manager, or it's just, people aren't going to call you with those leads.
People don't ring your doorbell and say, "Excuse me, can I come list my house with you?"
Right. You really have to put in the work. And the other thing I would say is, it comes back to like how often you get paid. If you solely rely on that bi-monthly, every 2-week paycheck, don't do real estate, because there are some really good months and there's some really bad months, and you need to understand budgeting your money and saving for those low months, because you never know when they're going to come. And I think that's really, really, really important.
Definitely not a steady paycheck.
It's definitely
up and
not.
down.
So I would say, think about it. At the end of the day, make sure that you understand what the job really entails and how everything works before you dive in.
Excellent. I think that's excellent advice. So let me ask you this. What would you say, again, either together or individually, is the number one skill a successful real estate broker needs to have?
I'd say communication is very important.
If you take communication, I'd like perseverance,
Yeah, I was gonna say both.
because you have to really be willing to dive in, to not only communicate with people, because that's extremely important,
Keep trying.
but to keep trying, because like I said, things are not going to fall on your lap. You're going to get told no a million times
And acceptance.
before you get told yes. And so it's just knowing that those no's, to not get beat down
Right.
by those no's.
Right. No only means no for now.
Right.
Right.
Win some and lose some. That's how it is.
Yep.
Even now, we win some and we lose some.
Right. And I still have a hard time with it sometimes. Like, what did we do wrong?
Well, and growth is important.
Yeah.
Real estate's really, there's a lot of challenges, right? There's a lot of different avenues. And so, yeah, growth is an important one, because if you get told no, you want to learn what you did to get that no, so that maybe the next one could be yes.
Right.
We go on a listing appointment and we don't get the listing. We want constructive criticism. We want that feedback. Was it something that we're not offering that somebody else might be? Was it, maybe our personalities just didn't
And
match?
sometimes that's just it. Your personalities. We're very strong women. A lot of people don't like that. But
Perseverance and growth, I think it's really important to not get turned down by every single no that you hit, because you're going to get told no a lot. And it's learning why you were told no, and hopefully growing and learning to make that next one a yes. Because even now we still get told no when we go on a listing appointment, and we want that constructive criticism. We want to understand where we could improve for the next time, because at the end of the day, it's all about adaptation and learning and becoming a better version of yourselves in order to
Right.
change with the world.
Well, like we said, sometimes it's just the personalities. Sometimes people's personalities just don't mesh. So
Right.
can't change that.
Nope. And then this will probably be the last thing. And as far as I'm thinking, the dynamic, you guys are great together here that I can see, right? What challenges are there for a mother-daughter team, father-son team, mother-father team? What kind of challenges do you run into? And could you speak to, how you've overcome those challenges, if at all?
I think because we are so comfortable with each other, sometimes we get frustrated with each other. I mean, I know that sounds kind of weird, but
Someone's not the best with technology.
I'm pretty good for my age with technology. Let me just tell you. She's way better, of course, but she's 35 years younger than me. Or
Right.
30
No,
years younger than
I
me.
would say the biggest challenge is turning it off. Because when you're used to working, like we had talked earlier in the podcast, you're used to communicating constantly of this is what we're doing and this person's doing this and this appraisal and this inspection and oh, I just got this lead. Do you want to take it or do you want me to take it? That it becomes hard to separate the personal and the
Yeah,
professional.
that's true too.
And I feel like we're working hard at it. Like, well, I call her at night just to do a nightly check-in, just be like, hey, how'd your day go? I'll talk to you tomorrow. You know, I love you. Good night. And it's trying to make that a personal phone call versus wanting to check in, you know, at 8:30 at night.
But
with all
sometimes
the
we
work
do
stuff.
check in with business
Right.
too.
We just have to know if it's a personal phone call or a professional phone call so that we can kind of separate.
And sometimes I'll text her and say, call me when you can talk. Because
Yeah.
if she's with her husband and her kids, I don't want to call her and talk business.
Especially with and the work-life balance. So
Right.
like at a certain point at night, I at least will put my phone on do not disturb so that I make sure that I'm learning and I'm working on this, that I'm focusing on, you know, my family time and putting my kids to bed and being present in that and not answering my phone at 9:30 at night, because honestly, you can't go see a house at 9:30 at night. I can't list your house and meet with you. So it can wait until the morning.
But I take those calls because I'm not putting kids to bed and I'm still up. So sometimes somebody calls me and says, hey, can we see this house tomorrow? Or an attorney will text me and say, I need this or whatever. I'll do it.
So if you need anything after 8 p.m., call Sue.
That's great. That's great. Well, I got to say that, you know, I love your dynamic.
Thank
I
you.
think, you know, you guys have found a way to balance yourselves, at least from the outside here looking in, you know, found a way to balance yourselves in this business, found a way to partner up in such a way that it really seems like, you know, the yin and the yang, you know, you've got your strengths and you've got your weaknesses and, you know, having the ability to Madison to work with your mom, and I'm sure is amazing. And, you know, as we all know, moms and dads aren't here forever. Right. And so to have that ability, I think is just fantastic. And Sue, I'm sure for you, because I know for me, having the time to be able to spend with our children, quality time, and even if it's business, it's still quality time, right?
Priceless.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I saw a stat a few years ago, and that bummed me out a little bit, that said, you know, you spend something like 90% of your time with your children before they're 18.
That's
and
true.
then after that, it's like 10% of your time or your life is spent with them. And I was like, I didn't realize that when they were growing up, right?
Yeah.
So you guys having this opportunity, I think is very special. And not only is it special, you guys have shown that it's also lucrative. You know, you've built a beautiful business for yourselves and your families. And I think, you know, it's one of those things that I'm envious of your ability to do this. I really am. I think it's great.
Thank you. We feel very blessed in many ways because we're able to do this.
Yeah.
She's not allowed to retire.
I don't plan to retire. I don't really plan to ever. I mean, I'm going to slow down at some point, but you know, it's so comfortable knowing that I have somebody who's so good at what she does, who can take over the business that I worked so hard to build, and she will continue it.
Yeah, I get the retirement question all the time, Sue. Like, when are you thinking about retiring? I'm like, when I'm dead. You know, there's no reason to retire.
I don't know
Like you
what I
said,
would
you
do
might-
with my time. I don't know what I would do with my time.
No, but slowing down is okay too.
Yes.
So
Right.
she worked really hard her entire life. She raised kids. She's involved in her grandkids' life. She built a great business. She deserves to relax and, you know, travel the world and do whatever else she wants to do as well. So, and I think she's starting to do that.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we do like to travel, but the house in Florida now, it's when I go down there, I feel a little guilty, but I have to stop. I have to just do it.
You'll
So,
get over that
her own
as you
guilt.
go.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, like you said, it's hard when you're used to doing this.
Yeah.
It's hard because in the past, when you stop doing it, you stop making money.
Right.
Right? When you were on your own.
Yeah,
right?
but you're not on your own. That's what he's
No,
saying. is
right,
That I'm here
right.
to pick up the slack when
Right.
you are out of town.
Right.
So
And I'll always have passive income.
I
so-
mean, I was like 14, no, maybe 16, and I was calling for feedback. I couldn't, she would be out of town for a week doing whatever, and I would check her emails and I would call agents for feedback because she writes it on her folders. And I can remember doing that. Obviously, I wasn't licensed. You don't have to be licensed to make phone calls. So I was keeping track of her showings for her.
And she was doing my photography for me for a while, and
So I've been involved for
And
a lot
marketing.
longer than 5 years.
yes. So when she first got her license, I never had to go through, okay, this is a listing agreement, or this is a buyer's contract. I never had to. She just knew it.
That's the beauty of being in a real estate family, right?
Yeah.
Is you know how to do it.
Subconsciously, I just heard everything and just,
And we'd be
Yeah.
we'd be on the phone on the way to a softball tournament, and I'd be negotiating on the phone, and so she was always there.
Well, it certainly seems like it's worked out tremendously for both of you. Congratulations on that. And, I hope you don't mind, but certainly our listeners, if somebody has a question or would like to talk to you about real estate or potentially what you do you mind if we put your contact information in the show notes?
Not at all. We would love to help anybody who has any questions.
absolutely.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate both of you taking your time out of your busy schedule, out of your family. I know, it's something that you had to schedule in, and I really appreciate that you did that. And I'm sure our listeners appreciate as well your insight. I love that it's the two different generations, and it's really, it shows that, you can do this if you have the right support, if you have the right mindset, right?
Right.
Thank you for
Right.
the opportunity.
Yeah,
as
thank
well.
you so much. It was great seeing you, and we appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you, ladies. All right, everybody. We will see you guys on the next Real Estate Roundtable podcast. Thanks. Thanks again to our sponsor, I Love Real Estate School. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing from our amazing guests and you picked up some valuable tips and insights that you can use in your own real estate business. If you liked what you heard today, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you more great content in the future. And if you're an agent who's interested in coaching, I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me directly through my website, myrealestatesalesmanager.com, or connect with me on social media. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you the next time in the Real Estate Roundtable podcast.